Hey everyone, welcome back. And our newest review is for the Netflix series Resident Evil, which just released on July 14th. Just like Netflix always does, every episode has been dropped. So this is being titled Season 1. Not quite sure if a second season will get greenlit, but Season 1 consists of 8 episodes and is a live action version of Resident Evil that is canon to the video games. This has taken place after the events of Resident Evil 1 through 5. And certainly one of the main things surrounding this series when it was announced was the appearance of Albert Wesker and causing a little bit of controversy, who was played by Lance Reddick. Now, you might recognize him, video game players, as the voice of Savala from Destiny 2. But the main thing that they did is casting Albert Wesker that people were a little curious about was the fact that anybody who knows Albert Wesker knows his character, and they went against that. Now, I will say that he is the least of the worries with this series. I think he actually does a very good job, and they do explain his character, why he's called Albert Wesker, and what has happened. So, I want to get into this, and we're just going to talk about the series as a whole. This is complete spoilers. I'm not going to do individual episode reviews, although I'll talk a little bit about the individual episodes. And I do think this series shows some promise in season 1. I would like a season 2 to be greenlit. I know this is getting some absolutely horrible reviews. It is not going well at all. Fans are really, really upset with this. And I do think, though, that there are some redeeming things. Like I said, one, I think the performance, for the character Albert Wesker, I think is good. I think the Easter eggs and the nods to things that have happened in the game are actually really good. I think this captures the spirit of Resident Evil, the first couple of games, and the goofiness and the craziness. I mean, let's face it. I think sometimes, again, this is just my opinion, and everybody can have theirs. I think, some of these complaints about this are acting like these games are some sort of Shakespeare and have amazing dialogue. I mean, we've got Chris Redfield punching a boulder, let's not forget. And we want to complain about things that happened in this series, but again, to each person their own. I'm just saying that I think this series, in many ways, actually captures the tone of the video games. I think it's interesting. The first couple episodes actually really did get me interested. There were some bad performances from characters in those episodes, but I could look past those. However, as the series goes on, you can't look past these performances. They are really bad, and I know the video game dialogue gets goofy and over the top, but this really does have some really cringeworthy dialogue, and it's only made worse, I think, by the portrayal of the actors. And I really hate doing this when I review things. I never really want to badmouth an actor or an actress, but I do think that both versions of the character, for the story is, there is Albert Wesker, there is his daughters Jade Wesker and Billie Wesker, and they are trying to find out what is going on with their father, Umbrella. And it takes place in two different story times, in 2022, and it takes place in 2036, 14 years after another outbreak, and New Raccoon City has been decimated. Again, they mentioned the fact that 1998 incident with Raccoon City being wiped off the map. So those performances, I think, by both versions, the kid version of the two Wesker daughters and the adult version, It certainly focuses more on Jade Wesker in 2036 than Billie Wesker. Um, but I do not like their performances. I do like the actress who plays young Billie Wesker more than Jade Wesker. Um, Jade Wesker is not likable, and she is supposed to be one of the main. She's one of the main features of this show, and I just do not like her performance, whether it was young Jade or older Jade. She does not learn. Um, she has no character arc, really. She does not learn from mistakes. She says she's nothing like her father, Albert Wesker, and complains about him all the time, yet she's exactly like him. Never learns anything from it. Well, Billie, um, is also one of the main, driving points of this show in the 2022 parts that we get in this series. She is not as prevalent in 2036 until the end. I do like her performance better. I like her character a little bit better. She eventually gets bitten by one of the zombie dogs, but seems to be able to fight off the T virus. And the reason she can fight off the T virus is because during this show, we learn that Albert Wesker has cloned himself. They mention the fact that he died in a volcano, but he had made clones. There is one really bad part where they put him in the exact outfit from Resident Evil 5, and it looks terrible, especially because of the fact that it really looks like a ripoff of Blade. Lance Reddick, he has hair in that scene. It looks really bad, so I'm not sure if it's a wig or CGI or whatever, but they probably should have just left him bald and put him in the Wesker outfit, because it is a carbon copy ripoff of Blade. It is super hysterical when he shows up on screen. It's really, really bad. Just laugh out loud funny. Luckily, he doesn't stay on camera very long because it does not look good at all. It looks terrible. It pulls you out of it. But there are some other side characters in here who I like. I do really like Simon, who ends up being the son of Evelyn Marcus, who is now running Umbrella, taking it over from her grandfather. And he is an actual interest of Jade Wesker in the 2022 portions of this series. I really like that. And there's actually a really good scene towards the end of this series. Well, a good story where he is trying to help these girls figure out what's going on with Umbrella, and ends up getting attacked by Billie Wesker as she has rage incidents after being bit by the dog, and ends up being killed by his own mother in front of everybody. I thought it was actually a really powerful scene. I really enjoyed it. And I thought it really worked. There are some strong moments in this. That is particularly one of them. Again, I like Simon's character in this series. I think he's particularly strong. I like some of the dynamic between the two Wesker sisters. I do really like Lance Reddick as Albert Wesker. I think he's very good. And I think they explain it well enough that he is, you can take yourself past the fact that maybe this is not the Wesker that you know, but the reason why it's not the Wesker that you know, I think is explained well. There's, nods to the game. There's the giant alligator in this show. Now he's involved in a scene that I cannot stand, where he just all of a sudden stops attacking a character. I think that's just poorly done. I think it leaves it open to try and, have season 2. But there's the chainsaw guy from Resident Evil 4. There's giant spiders. There's the dogs. There are a lot of references to the Resident Evil games in this series, which I think work. One of the things that doesn't really work with this, though, is there are really bad music choices that do not fit. I don't care what you're trying to do with Resident Evil. I don't need to have it necessarily 100% faithful. Because they are trying to reach a broader audience as well. I think sometimes they balanced it well, but the music choices do not fit this genre at all. There are some horrible, horrible scenes with music throughout this show that drag you, absolutely kicking and screaming, pull you out of scenes, and it is bad. I cannot believe that they made some of these choices. Now, I know a lot of people I have talked to, and a lot of things that I have seen. The buzzword that everybody says about this show is it is another, woke show that's trying to send a message. I particularly don't pick up on that. I don't think this show, using the term woke, I think this show is just trying once again to reach a broader audience. And I'll compare it to the Halo show on Paramount Plus. Now, does this show have its problems? 100%. Do I think this show balances trying to be Resident Evil and something else to lure people in? I think this does it way better than the Halo show. I thought the Halo show was trash. I was super disappointed with that. I am not super disappointed with Resident Evil. Would I like a straight adaptation? Yeah, I would. Welcome to Raccoon City, that movie came out that was looking like it was trying to be. That certainly had its problems. Would I like that? Yes, I would. But I do think that this show gets some of these things right. Again, it does to me feel like Resident Evil. Resident Evil is not the absolute most straightforward thing that we've ever had. And I do think over the 8 episodes that this show has, it does do enough to make it feel like Resident Evil. You know, is it exactly what I wanted? No. Is the dialogue bad? Yes. Are the music choices bad? Yes. But there's some really good set pieces. There's some really good action pieces. And again, I think with more likable main characters, or I hate doing this, maybe better actors and actresses, I think some of these things could have been forgiven. And I don't know if it's only the dialogue or if it is these actors and actresses trying to portray these characters that hurt it. But the dialogue certainly doesn't help. But I do feel like some of these scenes are very flat because of the actors. And if we had maybe somebody that was in the role better, I think some of these things would be, not overlooked, but would come off much better than they did with the characters and the actors that are portraying them. So I think there's a lot that they could do with season 2. I actually really hope that they put together a season 2. Again, the first episode, I was like, okay, I like this. Interesting. Second episode still piqued my interest. Third episode, I really liked as well. I was really into this for the first 3 episodes. Episode 4, it starts going down. And then it really does, unfortunately, just because of scenes, dialogue, music. Episode 4, it really does start to come undone. I do think episode 5 picked up. 6, okay. 7, I liked. And 8, I feel like it kind of falls off a cliff. There's too many, between the Wesker sisters, Billie ends up working for Umbrella and actually controlling Umbrella, which she takes over from Evelyn. And that is, man, the scene where she shows Jade that she can control Evelyn is one of the worst things that I have seen. She controls her through like this device, and she makes her dance and sing, and it's so bad. It's so cringy. I almost turned it off and took a break because that is how bad this scene is. It is one of the worst things that I have seen. It is horrendously bad. I cannot believe they filmed it. I cannot believe actresses agreed to do this. It's that bad, folks. If you have not seen this show yet, I would almost encourage you, or if you're trying to skip this, YouTube that clip, because that might tell you everything you need to know. Now, again, personally, I would watch this show. I think that you can get enjoyment out of this show. I think that you can see Resident Evil in its DNA, in its roots, and I think they do a lot of Resident Evil stuff right. But particularly episode 8, the season finale of this show, I think is really poorly done. And that's a shame, minus a couple of scenes that are really good, because this is your season finale. you want people to try and be encouraged for season two. And certainly there are things that happen that are automatically able to set up for a season two. It's just, is this going to garner enough attention? And are people going to want to see a season two based off the season finale, which I think is very weak. I think the season finale is the weakest out of all the episodes. And it's by a long shot. Season 8 or episode 8 is by far the worst thing that they have done with this show. So that's all I'm going to say about Resident Evil. Is it without its faults? No, it certainly has its faults, as I pointed out, but can you get Resident Evil out of this? Yes, absolutely. I do think people can take a step back. Again, just my personal opinion. Take a step back and really think and look at the Resident Evil games and look at what this does. It does capture that spirit particularly well, I think. I will say that. I will confidently say that I think this show captures the spirit of Resident Evil actually very well. Now, does it work in all regards? No. Do I want a season two? Yes, I actually do want a season two of Resident Evil. I think there's enough building blocks here in season one that you can make improvements, make adjustments, and you can have a successful season two and make this something that people want to see and potentially carry this on. I do think you could get multiple seasons out of this with some adjustments. So that'll do it for this review. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you can stay up to date on everything else that comes at Matt Goes to the Movies.